Good evening, everyone. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Cool. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mukei. I am one of the senior students at the Village Zendo and also currently leading our People of Color sitting group. And a few of the members are here tonight, so I wanted to just give a shout out to them. I would like to begin my talk with a story I heard from someone who's familiar to our community, Rafe Martin, who is a storyteller and who is a Zen teacher in Rochester, New York. And he told us a story once about a man, a king, who had 5 sons. And the king was taken over, and his kingdom was taken over by a demon. And so whenever the king or one of his sons tried to grasp back the power from the demon, they were all taken, put into a deep sleep, something like Cinderella, except it's not so fantastic like Cinderella. But one by one, the sons would attempt to answer these riddles, and if they didn't, they'd be going into a deep sleep. So the youngest son made the final attempt, and he encountered the demon, and the demon gave him 3 riddles. Now, some of you may be familiar with this story, and some of you may know the answer to the riddles. And if you do know the answer to the riddles, please do not share them. I'll do that later in the talk. But the first riddle was, what is the fastest thing in the whole world? The second thing, what is the most dangerous thing in the whole world? And the final riddle was, what is the most important thing in the whole world? Presently, I have been noticing that there are so many people around. Different shapes, dresses, color of skin, language, who's predominantly visible and who's not so visible. And I'm surprised in a way because it felt like, well, I live in New York City, so how can I not see a lot of different kinds of people? But it's been unusual for me to just kind of begin to look at folks and see that there are just so many people in the world, in this city. And I guess the reason why my perception has become somewhat intensified is because given the current situation in the world and in this country, I begin to go back to our teachings that tell us that we're all created. We're all created and we're all connected. To quote Bernie Glassman, one of our Zen teachers, he says, we are one body at work. What affects one part of the body affects the whole body. When I was in college, I had an art teacher who introduced me to Frederick Franck. He held degrees in medicine, dentistry, and fine arts, and he worked for 3 years with Alfred Schweitzer in Africa. He was born in Belgium, and he remembers at a very young age when the Germans invaded Belgium, he witnessed files of people fleeing their burning villages, wounded and dying soldiers on push carts, all traveling to Holland that was neutral during the war. Frank was fascinated by the human face, observations made in parlors, cafes, squares of his home. And through the years, he would either draw them or he would make masks of the people he encountered. He would use clay or wax or water putty, but these faces were so interesting to him. And in 1938, he came to the States and he became a grad student at Pittsburgh University. And that didn't stop him from sculpting and molding these faces. And the subjects that he was using, they didn't know about it. And so once, much later in life, when he was much older, his son came across them and asked him, well, what are all these small masks. And he said, these are people who I've met over the years. And his son asked him, well, why were you so fascinated with doing this kind of work? And he said, I felt directly related to them. My lifelong perception with the meaning of being born human. In other words, who am I? Who are you? Molding one of these faces, I sometimes felt I am molding a karma, not limited to a particular face, but shared. Now, interestingly enough, I found out that Franck was interested in Buddhism, and especially in Zen. And he writes in a story in which he's working on a mask, and he is having a daydream with the Sixth Patriarch. And he says in his daydream, he says, I go and I knock on the Sixth Patriarch's door. It opens slightly, and I saw him standing there, tight-lipped. He confronted me with the question, often posed to aspirants who want to be Zen disciples, before accepting or rejecting them. Show me your original face. You have been given even before your parents were born. I knew somehow that this original face was purely human dimensions of the face of which I had been needing every day. He repeated the standard question, show me the original face. I couldn't speak, I couldn't answer. He then thrusted a mirror in my hands and said, go, and keep watching. Be sure you remain aware in what you are looking for. Franck says, I go and I sat down on the cot, staring into the mirror, and what I saw horrified me, nauseated me to the point of vomiting. But I kept watching. Overcoming my nausea, I saw the ugly ape-like face with its bald head and ugly nose. I kept on watching. I saw it distorted in anger, in rage. I saw it grimacing in smiles and flatteries, in violent outbursts of aggression and hate, until very slowly the image in my mirror began to go out of focus, and after more hours becoming vague, featureless, and its contour evaporated. Now I saw the no-thingness that is the original face. I must have had that before my parents were born. In a wild joy, I ran to the patriarch's room, and he asked through the closed door, have you anything? All I could say is, I see nothing, Master. He opened the door, and with a smile, and I asked him, may I come back? He didn't answer, but smiling, he just pointed to my mirror, saying, go, be aware of what you are looking for, and closed the door. Going back to the riddle that the youngest son had to answer in front of the demon, what is the fastest thing in the whole world? The answer is a thought. What is the most dangerous thing in the whole world? The answer is walking the precipice between life and death. What is the most important thing in the whole world? The answer is to be happy. I believe Franck, in his work, had a glimpse of the original face. Something I think we're all, at least I would hope, are trying to. But going back to the second answer of the riddle, we are all straddling between the precipice between life and death every day. and we are killing ourselves. Palestine, Gaza, Israel, government shutdown, left and right pointing fingers. We are killing ourselves. Somehow, the original face is being lost. Somehow, we are not becoming human. What's next? A monk asked his teacher, "What is myself?" The teacher answered, "There is something deeply hidden within yourself. There's something deeply hidden within all of us. And you must become acquainted with its hidden activity." The monk then asked to be told what his hidden activity was. The teacher just opened and closed his eyes. It is the opening and closing of the eyes that is Zen, to quote Franck. But this has to be pondered in the heart. As with all that is worthwhile, it can only be revealed, but not explained. Perhaps we need to go back to what the Sixth Patriarch told us. With a smile on his face, he thrusts the mirror in our hands and leaves us with the words, "Go, be aware of what you're looking for." And with that, he closes the door.